watching right now, you have joined us live or possibly well into the future at some point. And this is going to be a Edcamp Home 3.0 session in session 1 about revolutionizing schools. Just going to have a little roundtable discussion on what people's thoughts are, things they've done, and try and get somewhere. I don't want to use the word school reform. I don't think that gets a negative connotation. Let's talk revolution. That's more what we want anyways. So we're going to start just by introducing everybody. I'm going to work from left to right on my screen, so it may not look the same for the participants here, but everybody's going to get a chance to say who they are, what they do in education, and where they are coming to us from. So I'm going to start over here on my left with Amy.
Okay. Am I on?
You're on. You're front and center.
Okay, so my name is Amy Traganese. I'm an art teacher and arts integration teacher here in Connecticut, in Southwest Connecticut. And this would be my third EdCamp, my first one online, so I had a little troubleshooting. I'm on Twitter at atrag with 2 G's, Tragg. So is that all I was supposed to say? I forget.
That's totally fine. Thank you very much, Amy. It's great to have you.
All right, thanks.
All right, moving on over to Ben.
Hi, I'm Ben Brazo, a high school social studies teacher, host of social studies T-Lab Teach Like a Pirate on Thursday night. In Wisconsin. I live not that far away from our host tonight, Josh. So there's my deal.
All right. Thanks, Ben. Thanks for joining us. All right, Chris, you're up. You're muted right now, that looks like.
I am because it's I'm in Taipei, Taiwan, and it is 8 o'clock in the morning here. We're having summer school, and so I got kids walking in and out of here, wondering why their teacher's in the middle of the cafeteria with headphones on, talking to some people. So yeah, like I said, I'm Chris. I'm here in Taiwan, just for I think like 2 more weeks. I've taught at this school for 5 years. As a high school English teacher. It's an American curriculum school. And starting in about a month, I start teaching in a school in Northern California. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Very cool. Very cool, Chris. Well, glad to have you. And finally, I know we've tweeted a lot over the past year or so, so it's nice to sort of face-to-face here.
Had some massive pun runs, and yeah, it's been all right.
You've got to. You've got to. You're not doing puns, you're totally missing out.
Exactly.
All right. Moving again to my right, we have Julie.
Hi guys, I'm Julie Allspa. I am in Michigan, and I'm on Twitter, and my Twitter handle is Julie All That, not because I think I'm all that, just because you can spell that, hopefully, and you can't spell my last name. I work at a virtual program in Michigan. I am a lead teacher for a program that's K through 8, and it's 100% online. So, as we talk about some of the revolutionary ideas, we're doing some revolutionary work here a little bit.
Very cool. Wow. All online K-8. So I'm definitely going to have to ask you to talk more about that when we get a chance, because I'm really intrigued by that. All right. So thank you, Julie. Moving to our right, we have Myra. I said that right?
Yes. I'm Myra Deister. I teach at Sunny Hills High School in Fullerton, California. I attended several ed camps, first one online. I'm on the board of Orange County Computer Using Educators and Computer Science Teachers Association. I really could use some help with my school district administration because my tech in my classroom consists of a 7 or 8 year old laptop and a LCD projector.
All right. Good to know. Well, hopefully we can help you out and give you some new ideas tonight. And yeah, that's always one of those things to struggle against is admitting where their priorities are. So awesome. Well, glad to have you, Myra. And sorry, where were you from again? Where were you teaching from?
Fullerton, California, Southern California.
Okay. Very nice. All right. Well, thank you, Myra. All right, Cheryl, are you back with us? I know you dropped for a moment. Okay, we'll come back to her because I know she popped off and then she popped on, so I'll jump back at her. Let's jump over to Tim.
Hi, I'm Tim O'Connor. I'm from Barrington, Illinois. I teach at Barrington High School, which is just outside of Chicago, a little bit northwest of Chicago. This is my first year there. Before, my position right now is called the Digital Age Learning Coach. So basically, I help teachers effectively use technology to, either become more efficient or produce some pretty awesome learning outcomes. As we transition this past year, we had a pilot program of 15 teachers and about 600 students of one-to-one, and then next year will be one-to-one for our whole school, which is about 200 staff and about 3,000. Before that, I was a social studies teacher, so I'm excited to start the conversation.
All right, awesome. Well, welcome, Tim. And just a little side note, I'm really excited about. Tim is actually going to be in the same cohort as myself for the Google Teacher Academy in Mountain View, coming up in like 19 days or 18 days, which is just crazy how close that is.
Can't come soon enough. I'm so excited.
It's going to be crazy. I know Chris was just at Google Teacher Academy in Chicago last year, so
it's a blast.
So
it's a total blast. You're gonna the thing that they always say, the cliche is that it's like drinking from a fire hose. Like, you will seriously drown in the best possible way. So just learn as much as you can and just eat nonstop.
Chris, I actually just went these last 2 days. I just went to a coding class with David Tessa and James Eichmiller. They had a 2-day coding class. I just attended. I just got back. It was in Downers Grove, which is not too far from Barrington. So my brain is a little fried after learning 2 days of coding, which I knew nothing about Google Apps coding. But it was pretty awesome. That was their
App Inventor?
statement, basically, or the action plan.
Scripting or App
Oh,
Inventor?
nice.
Google Scripts.
Google Scripts. Okay.
All right, well, I'd love to talk to you more about that because I actually did the first run with that back in late January and February, so I'd love to talk more to you about that because I thought they did an awesome job.
Yeah.
But we need to get to Cheryl because Cheryl didn't get to introduce herself yet. So, Cheryl, your turn in the hot seat. I think you're there. I see you twice, bottom of my screen. All right. Well, Cheryl, if you get a chance, just interject, and we'll give you a chance to introduce yourself. But otherwise, I think we have everybody introduced that jumped in. So I'm excited that everybody wanted to take some time and talk about this topic. For me, the reason why I proposed the topic in the first place is I think a lot of times, especially in like the ed tech community, and that's actually kind of my role now, is I'm moving from being a business ed teacher to a technology training specialist at the Unified School District of De Pere, grades 5 through 8. So for me, a lot of times we always get caught up in wanting to use certain tools and tool this and tool that. And I always want to get beyond that. What's the bigger picture? What are some of the bigger things that we need to do or that we're trying to do? And does it even involve technology? So that's more my focus here, but obviously you can steer this whatever way you want. So I'll just start with a simple question to get the ball rolling. Does our education system need to be revolutionized?
Okay, guys, I'll go. I think that in the current age, the way our children are growing up right now, I'm a mom of 3 teenagers, and these kids are digital natives, and they like to be in control of their own learning. They are not very content focused because they have the content on all of their devices. They're more my learning for them needs to be more focused on pedagogy and more kind of like your higher learning, sorting and analyzing, and is that data good? Because anybody can give them any amount of data. And I think that in terms of education, you know, our old model, they used to come to us for content, and we were the sage on the stage. And I think in our new model, we need to be more the guide on the side, and our pedagogy becomes even more important as we teach them how to sort through the endless amount of data they have.
However, you have to have access to the internet if you're going to have all that data. I have no wireless. We're not one-to-one. It's one computer in my entire high school classroom with 40 students.
But how many kids have
I completely agree with you.
But how many kids have smartphones in their pocket?
I cannot do anything with a smartphone unless I can guarantee that every student in the class has a smartphone with unlimited data plan. And I can't guarantee that to my administration. In California, we have we're working against the ACLU because they said that everybody is entitled to a free public education, and I cannot require a pencil, a paper, anything.
See, that's good in a way, because I'm in Michigan and they're bringing a BYOD, bring your own device. So basically, like I said, I'm a parent of 3 teenagers. The teacher said, oh, you guys can all, you know, look it up on your phones and check your smartphones. And my teenager was the only one who couldn't. Needless to say, that weekend we went out and we tripled the amount of phones in my house and got everybody data plans and smartphones, because in order to be up to speed in their classes, and in order to be that we as parents had to take on that burden. So in California, if you have kind of that protection as a parent, I might appreciate that.
Right, I know, because I've had 2 kids in high school. Now they finished college and moved on, but they required my son in his particular school to have a graphing calculator, $100 calculator. They did not have lockers. He was out for football practice and somebody stole his calculator. School's not responsible. I understand. So I do the best I can with what I have. I bring in some tech, so that we actually did paper slide videos, and I brought in an iTouch. The school had given me one iPad through the parent organization. I used a document camera, and I had a flip camera. So with 40 kids, 10 groups, it took us 2 days to film. That's a lot of class time, but I wanted to do it.
Kind of going back to what Julie mentioned earlier, I know, you know, this is my first year within this position of really working with teachers to effectively integrate technology, and one of the things that I often hear is teachers will say, well, I can't do this whatever it is, because I don't have the time, because I have to cover, you know, a certain amount of content. We have to get to, in U.S. history, we have to get to the Civil War by the end of first semester, or whatever it is. Now, to me, that is a big shift where we have to get away from covering a certain amount of content or whatever it is. Again, instead of how much we're covering, but how in depth are we covering it. And I think that is a little bit of shift, because I think kind of, at least for my 10 years in education, that just seems to be the more norm of how much are you covering instead of how in depth are you covering. I see that as kind of one of the big shifts that's happening when you see things like 20% time and stuff like that.
Well, that's fine, but if you teach a subject like math, where we have to deal with Common Core testing, I still am up against a wall, because my students are the ones, my 11th graders are the ones that get tested in they're in my pre-calculus class, and so I've got to make sure they understand the material up through pre-calculus, which is Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2. I do the best I can, but it's difficult.
Absolutely, and actually this is part of the reason for this discussion, why I put this out there, is we do have all these things. We have Common Core that's breathing down our neck. We have, you know, like Myra, in your case, you have such a lack of access to technology where, you know, the people are full one-to-one in their schools. You are 1 to a million, basically. I mean, it might as well be.
Yeah.
So how do we obviously understand that, you know, it's a different era now, and there are definitely some more skills that are important than just strictly content. But with all of these different requirements, how do we make those changes, and how do we, I don't want to say subvert the system, but in a way, is that kind of what we need to do?
Well, I know one of the things that are in our program, we're a virtual program. So I won't go as far as saying the word self-paced, because that means you can take as long as you want. It's more like a flexible pace system. And you know how we talk about, we have to get done content, we have to get done content. Our program has a mastery standard, so that if a student doesn't get to a 70% mastery, they can't go on. They have to stay there, reteach, relearn, review until they get there. And I like that, because then we're not moving so much through content, because especially with math, if you think about it, it's like a Jenga tower. If you didn't get that bottom piece, it doesn't all the pieces you put on top of it are pretty shaky.
Well, what do you do with the student who doesn't finish? Because you need to master so much of the curriculum. Are you talking about over years, over 1 year? Because, a student may earn like 90% but have only finished half the class. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's an incomplete. Then that student, there's a certain marker that they have to pass that is considered to be enough progress in the class for the class to be considered complete.
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah, right now I'm supporting a couple of my students through summer school, because at the moment, and honestly in virtual education, it's really not so much, I really don't struggle so much with the mastery thing. Sometimes I do have students that take a test, maybe sometimes they take it twice. The student that takes it 3 times, we do a lot of interventions for, but progress is the bigger problem than proficiency. It really is progress. And we just do our best. That's my job as a mentor, is to mentor the progress.
Is it kind of like a standards-based system then? Is that kind of how you grade that? Because it's what kind of sounds like.
Yeah, it's a standards-based system. It's aligned with the Common Core. I'm in Michigan, so technically we don't really know if we have the Common Core. We actually don't even know, I know generally speaking, what months we're doing state testing, but I'm not really sure what state test yet, which, trust me, when you're talking about, our old test was MEEP. We did standardized testing. We're a virtual program, so we did standardized testing. We called it MEEPing by flash mob, because the kids would have to show up to testing centers. But
Okay.
So it is a standardized based program, and like I said, my biggest challenge, the students, it's a K-5 program, K-8, but the K-5 is more unusual, and it's really kind of an outreach to homeschooling families, because there is a learning guide in the home that is giving guided, scripted instruction under the guide of a certified local teacher. So that's how we kind of teach people to read online. They're not watching videos all day. There's still a lot of textbooks. There's still a lot of interaction. There's still a lot of human-to-human contact. But as the mentor teacher, one of my biggest roles is assuring the progress, because that's where we have the biggest problems.
And Julie, did you say, is that a public school system, or is that like private or independent?
No, absolutely. We are part of the public school system. I am a consortium. I work at, we're all in different states, but you have your local school district. In Michigan, we have intermediate school districts, which are like county government, and then we have the state MDE, Michigan Department of Education. I work at the county level, and we are a consortium across 6 counties and 55 school districts. So we are part of the public school system, not for profit, not charter, not anything like that.
All right, cool. So as I'm listening and kind of thinking, I'm hearing some things tossed out. With the online teaching, that kind of makes me think of more of a flipped classroom movement, blended classroom. I'm hearing standards-based grading out. So is that really revolutionizing our schools? Is that what it looks like, or does it look like something else? Or do we all have different visions of what the ideal school environment looks like?
Good question, because I have two roles in my school. I am a math teacher and I'm a computer science teacher. Math is more traditional, obviously, with the lack of equipment I have in that room. Computer science, at least I have a lab, and for about 5 or 6 years now, I've used a learning management system. The thing that I've found is that kids are still not, I don't know, geared towards that direction, because they know I post the assignments, they know I post the due dates. When they're out sick, they still come back and say, what was the homework?
Yes. What system do you use? What LMS?
Oh, I've used several, because I take a free one and then it becomes, then they start charging. I've finally gone to Canvas, that's been free for the last 4 years. I'm hoping they'll keep it free. I've applied to have I applied for a Google Classroom. I wanted to get an early edition of it, but they haven't sent me an invitation yet, which is frustrating because I start school on August 7th.
They've been
I think
frugal
that's
with
going
those
to be a big challenge
invitations.
with that. Say it again. Sorry.
Oh, I'm done.
And as I've posted several times, right now I've agreed to over 40 kids in my computer science class, and I said if I can't get a preview before school starts, I'm certainly not going to have the time after school starts to try to figure this thing out. So maybe following year I'll get to use it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of tough, I think, to expect people to switch midstream, and even like a week in, 2 weeks in feels like midstream when half of us are starting and kind of like mentally wrapping our heads around stuff in July and August, and like you can't just be like, here's a new tool, get going. Like it takes a while to move in.
Yeah, the timing on that was choice. That was really well thought of.
Well, they said that they'll release it to everybody in August, but I keep telling them that's not helpful for me.
All right, so I'm going to move us back towards the main point, or maybe we're going off on a different tangent here.
Well,
which is
my
fine.
question is, and I've talked to, I thought possibly using an LMS and trying to do more flipped learning, I would be better preparing my students for the college. But talking to college professors, they don't use learning management systems apparently in the same way I do, which was surprising.
Well, and I think that's go ahead.
How are you using it? Because I can tell you, I just finished my ed specialist that gives me my admin cert, and I'm taking a technology class right now on a university, and they use Moodle just heavily. I would say 50% of my classwork is done in Moodle, posting and watching videos, and so I don't know how you're using it,
well,
but I do use it.
I'm leading edge certified for online teaching, so I've gone through the coursework. Like discussions, and I throw out an article and have them give opinion, and then the kids look at each other's opinions and have a discussion back and forth. When I spoke to a couple of college people, and apparently that's not what's happening at the college level.
Well, I just finished college 3 years ago, so I'll try and harken back to my experience here as an undergrad anyways. I had a few online classes. I had several classes. Almost the majority of my classes, teachers were putting things out. We were using D2L as our learning management, and a lot of stuff was out there. We did discussions out there. But I think when we discuss preparing kids for college and things like that, I think once again we need to put less focus on the tool and more what are the skills needed to be successful at that level or beyond. And I think we also have to realize to some extent, I think K-12 has changed a lot more rapidly than post-secondary has, and that we I think are doing and moving towards really good things with flipped learning and trying to help students become more responsible. And I know, Julie, you talked a lot about that, sorting information, being able to evaluate and working on those skills. And I think we're trying to do that more. And I think, at least at this point, that's something that colleges, I know for especially early on, there's a lot of lecture, and then you take a test.
Right.
And it's almost like our old model or the, I don't want to say old way of doing things, but classic teaching, teaching to the test, things like that, and especially with Common Core and the new testing with that, and there's just this whole emphasis on testing. Sure, that prepares you for college, but what prepares you for life and being really successful? And is that college? Is that something else? So I don't know necessarily, sorry to round this back up to our point, I don't know if necessarily our goal should be to say prepare them for college as it is. I think we should aim higher than that. I think we should aim, how can we help kids become more independent thinkers, and whether, regardless of whether or not it's a college thing. I don't know. That's my crazy rant.
Well, I agree with
No,
you.
I agree.
I think too much of it has been, we hear all the time, are we preparing them for college? Are we preparing them for college? Well, college was 2 tests and a paper. Is that real learning, or is that regurgitation of information? So if we want to produce thinkers, if we want to produce innovators, if we want to produce people who are going to be cutting edge and revolutionize our world, we can't have people who memorize things that people are telling them. They have to be out there doing things like Genius Hour, going out there and doing inquiry-based stuff. The content stuff that we're talking about early on, it's great that they know some content, but what is it that they're doing? In the end, it's about what products are they making. Are they, when you get out of your class, whether it's math class or my social studies class, whatever, how much of it are they going to remember in 15 years, 20 years? Or is it the skills that they've taken away from it? They can critically think. They can make a persuasive argument. They can get into a conversation and have information to use to support themselves. Those are life skills, not on what day was JFK assassinated, or can you solve a quadratic equation? I'm sorry, math people, but it's that skill set of how do you figure out how to solve a problem.
I love the critical thinking part of it, because it may be the way that my high school students have been trained throughout, but they're not willing to step out and take a chance, especially in computer programming, because the answer's not there. They have to figure out how to start from step A and get to step B, and they struggle with that.
Absolutely. I
think that the system is...
Sorry. So I was just going to say, that's where revolution takes place, is when you're a kid, you try something and you fail. You try again. My daughter's been upstairs playing with Legos and her tower tips over. What does she do? Stomp off and scream and cry, or does she say, I gotta fix it? I still want the tower. I have to go and rebuild it and have to figure out how to do it differently. And we have, our system has created a way where kids look for that right answer. I want the A or the B or whatever. I want the right answer, and that's the only thing I'm looking for. Is this going to be on the test?
Yes, I hear that all the time.
It's not about, how do I use this? And how can I apply this? It's about that right answer all the time. And they're so afraid of going out of that comfort box to just try something. But that's my take. Sorry for interrupting.
No, I think that's where we fail, and we fail often, and we learn from our failures. My goal as a teacher and my goal as a parent is to raise a happy, healthy adult who will go out and make a career that makes them happy and maybe turn the world upside down in the meantime. So, I think those are the types of skills we need to teach, those problem-solving skills, because these kids are going to have jobs that don't even exist right now. Heck, I'm a virtual middle school teacher. My job didn't legally exist 3 years ago. So, we run into this in our own situation, and our kids are going to run into this even more.
Absolutely. I know we have about 2 minutes left. I just wanted to say something that might be slightly embarrassing, but I think embodies that last part of our discussion. I started reading this book, Mindset, and it's about having the growth mindset and things like that. And that's so true about failure. So here's my embarrassing story. As a 26-year-old male, I never learned to ride a bike. So I never learned to ride a bike. So I got a bike for Christmas from my in-laws and my wife. And so the past 3 weeks, I have been trying to learn how to ride a bike. And as a 26-year-old adult trying to learn how to ride something, as I watched a 5-year-old across the street just go zooming by on this bike, and I can't even get started pedaling, like, that is a very frustrating feeling. But knowing, not being able to do it with, I have to do it myself. Nobody else can ride the bike for me. I have to ride the bike. So I had to keep doing it and keep getting out there and falling over and, basically in the middle of a neighborhood, possibly making a nice fun show for everybody to watch. I had to put all that away and I had to keep working on it. Now, 3 weeks later, I can ride a bike. I can do it.
Yay!
I can go up and down the sidewalk. And so bringing it back, I failed a lot. Like, it was frustrating. I'd go out there, I'd spend an hour, and I would feel like I did nothing positive. But that was this is what I have to do. I'm riding this bike. This is the goal that was set out for me. This is what I want to do. And I just had to keep at it. And so there wasn't a right answer. There wasn't a right way for me that was going to work, one right way. I just had to figure that out for myself. So failing was huge because now I feel amazing about it because I was able to overcome that.
I hope that you
Perseverance.
documented that experience or something, like, so that way your students can kind of see that and maybe enjoy that in the most terrible way possible. But at least like that you can kind of like model that. I mean, because honestly, that's a beautiful story, and that's, I think, what that all boils down to. Oh, he left. Was it Ben, the other guy who was here? Like, he was talking about like his daughter like playing Legos and not being afraid of like falling, and like, you're talking about like, just not being afraid of falling, but just being to the point that you just kind of have to suck it up, and you're just like, the goal. And I think that I get scared that sometimes, at least in Asia, in my very limited teaching career, teaching in this one specific school, I'm not going to try to be like, this is how all Taiwanese or whatever, but like, at least in our situation, it is so high stakes on getting into this certain ranked college, and like
Oh, yeah.
if you bomb an assignment, if you bomb a test, if you bomb your SAT, if you ruin your AP class, like, what's the point? What's the point? You're done. And so, what Myra was saying, like, I think that, to me, that's what stuck out. Like you have, like, the stakes are so high. Why would you want to fail? Like, legitimately, we can be happy, sweet teachers and be like, yeah, don't be afraid to fail. But like, legit, why would you want to fail if you know that support system is not there? That breaks my heart. I hope that we can kind of shift that to a place where, like, legitimately, there is some level of like, you can mess up. This is not on your permanent record. This doesn't necessarily have to follow you around. That's what I love about that standards-based idea, that you have that ability to just like bomb it so bad, and then turn around and tomorrow, you can bomb it by less, and then we can kind of forget that you did that. I don't know.
So let me jump in here just for a minute. Can you hear me?
Sure.
Yes.
We can hear you, Amy. Glad to hear from you.
All right. Well, I changed computers. If you noticed, I have my name at the bottom now. But I think as teachers, it's so important to learn new things and try new things, because sometimes you forget what it's like to be a kid and learn something brand new. So if you don't get on that bike and ride it, or make a different kind of artwork, in my situation, because I'm an artist, or whatever it is that you want to learn, you really lose touch with the people who you're teaching, no matter what age they are.
Absolutely. Now, I don't want to cut anybody off. I know we need to wrap this up because we're supposed to end at 40, and it's 43, but really good discussion going on so far. If I could sum it up in a word, basically our revolution comes down to failure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Need to.
I think I like perseverance better,
Oh,
because
wait
that
a minute.
indicates
Positive spin on that.
perseverance.
Yep. Yes.
That indicates failure, and then trying again.
Yep.
Exactly.
And I just spelled perseverance wrong in the chat. Okay, I need to work on that. Okay. Well, hey, thanks for coming. I'm going to go ahead and stop the broadcast now. Obviously, we can keep this conversation going. It's great to connect with you, and I don't want it to end here. So obviously on Twitter is a great place. I spent way too much time out there. but also this community we have is great. So thanks for joining. Got to go get ready for session 2 now. Fun stuff.
Right. Thanks,
Thank
John.
you.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks.